B6, which is Robbie, which is the receipt wallet. No, I make no apologies for the name. I kind of figured it was appropriate. So we're on to week 6 of the year, because we've got B6 here. So yeah, so this is the project we're going to make today. It's got a little popper, so you can undo it and put your receipts in there. And as I said this morning, you can see how much you've been spending. Now, the main thing is with Robbie is that we're going to be doing crumb quilting. Okay, now that's something that perhaps you might not have come across before, but it's a lovely technique. If I open it up like that, you can see what I mean. It's made up in stages, although you can make it up in one go, and you'll see as we go along why I'm saying making it up in stages is probably a good idea. This is Robbie. We're going to be using vinyl for the pocket. We're going to be doing binding. I'm going to show you a slightly different way of doing the binding that I did in the pattern, just to give you a difference, if you like. And it's got a little bit of quilting on it, not much. So it's a nice easy make, but actually it's quite a useful make, because it's just the right depth to put receipts in, if that's the sort of thing that you know, lots of people like to collect receipts, don't they, and make sure that they've got everything safe and they can account for everything. And also when your other half says, well, what was it that you spent on the 31st of May last year? Oh, I have no idea. But if you keep the receipts, you're in with a chance. I usually look at the diary and think, oh yes, I was in so-and-so that day. Oh yes, I remember now, it was whatever. But it is useful to keep them. But to be honest, you could use this for anything that you need to sort of quickly look into. Maybe it's store cards, maybe that's the sort of thing that you would put in there. It's up to you, isn't it? It could be that crucial little piece of makeup that you like taken around with you, perhaps your lippy or just a mirror, something like that. I mean, it's not going to be, you know, you can't put massive things in there, it's not meant for that, but you could obviously reinvent the wheel, as we like to do. So lots of people watching already. Welcome. I've got lots of lovely messages saying hello and everything. Hello, Lizzy and everyone. That's lovely, isn't it? That everybody says hello. And of course it's we do have people that obviously regularly join us every week, and sometimes we'll get new people. If we have new people and they say, then we should welcome them, I think. So yeah, lovely to see you all. I just want to wish Lynn Hobbins a happy birthday today. I caught that in the feed in the group today, so I managed to lift that, if you like, and put it the announcement in the group. And that's my group, my sewing online group, not this one. And good luck to Rosemary, who's having her other eye done. Very important. It means that she'll be able to start stitching again. So yeah, it's all good news today, isn't it? And I managed 100 skips. So I don't know if you know, but I'm doing 100 skips, supposedly 100. I'll tell you the story in a sec. I'm supposed to be doing 100 skips a day, and this is the first day, day 6, because it's 100 skips a day in February for raising money for cancer research. Today is the first day that I managed to get to 100 without calling 101. Is it 101? I always get confused. I don't know about you. Is it 101, 111? I know I'll end up ringing the wrong people, but I'm sure they'd redirect me. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, so we're going to be making Robbie. Now, I am actually reading off my screen, and I'm very conscious, my laptop, and I'm very conscious that it's making a lot of noise. So if you can hear my laptop, just tell me, because I will switch it off, because I'm sure I could memorise the pattern since I wrote it. So there we are. Yes, it's making a, you know, when the fan goes and my mic is right next to it. I can move it a little bit. It won't make a jot of difference. But tell me if it's upsetting you and I will switch it off straight away. Right, so as you can see, the month of February is all about pinks, reds and mauves. So we've got all the colours going here. These are the patterns for my online sewing group, plus the bag. behind me. Actually, it wouldn't have mattered which way I went. Look, wouldn't have mattered, would it? I would have got seasick, so would you. Right, let's get cracking, otherwise we're never going to get it done. So the first thing you need to do is to get your fabric sorted. Now, I've got some bits already sort of picked out. These are exactly the same fabrics that I used on the sample, which is here, sample. And so I just thought, well, I'll just make a second one because these are my favourite colours. I have got some bits left over because the first time I made far too much, so I've saved those bits because that'll save us a little bit of time because I can join these all together. Essentially, crumb quilting is really a great way of using up scraps. Now, I would say that's got a selvage on it, which I'd cut off. So these are the sort of sizes that you're looking at. You could make the sizes smaller, but you've got to remember that you're going to have seam allowances, so it's going to reduce the size. And the smaller the piece, the longer it will take you to put the piece together, you know, the piece of fabric. Now, fortunately, the piece of fabric we need isn't massive, right? It's just that big. I've got some African wax fabric for the lining. So it's not massive, so it shouldn't take us too long to put together. And it's useful that I've got some already there. Let me just say hello to a few people here because everybody's saying good evening and I haven't ignored you. It's just that we've got 166 viewers and I couldn't possibly say hello to everybody. But I can say hello to Bernadette and to Mira and to Christine and to Karen. Have we got anybody from YouTube, I wonder? Let me just go up the list. Can't see anybody on YouTube at the moment. Oh, I hope I sent it to YouTube. It's possible that I didn't. It's the sort of thing I do. Oh, hello to Dee Dee in Australia and to Donna. What time is it there, Dee Dee? I always ask you. Is it about 6 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, so lots of people watching. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always an absolute treat. Anyway, let's get on. So with crumb quilting, there's kind of like a few perhaps rules, if you like. So what you're trying to do is let's just take a couple of pieces. Isn't that absolutely delicious? And what you're trying to do is obviously you're wanting to join them together. So you want a straight edge basically. Ah, my friend Jackie says, well, I'm not broadcasting on YouTube. Epic fail. So if 5:30 a.m. Dee Dee, oh, that's ever so early. I will obviously upload it to YouTube after this. I do apologise for anybody that's coming over from YouTube onto Facebook. I do apologise. Yes, so you're looking really for straight edges. Now, obviously, with these pieces, they are pretty good at straight edges. We could do that to that. But if you do that to that, you could do, and you could stitch along there, but actually it means that's, if I do it that way, you've got a spare bit there. So what you could do with that is you could attach that piece like that, and you could stitch all the way along there. In fact, we will do that. We stitch all the way along there, and then we can just slice it and cut our pieces accordingly. So that's kind of like the rules, that you need straight edges to match. It doesn't matter about this because we can trim all that. That's all okay. But we want to just have a straight edge to machine along. Likewise, if we, in fact, I will stitch that so I can show you. Let's say we've got this old scrap here. Now that's not particularly straight. You could straighten that up. There are certain rules that you can break, i.e. you can straighten that up. So if I was to get my ruler, my little ruler, hold on one moment, if I can pick it up, here we go. I can actually, it's not cheating, it's making it easy, okay? So you can just straighten that up, okay? And that's the right side we're looking at. So what you could do then is that you could then place your pieces. I've got to remember that's let me just cut that off because we do not want to stitch a selvage. and then you can line your pieces up, just like we're going to do with this bit. And oh, look at Lizzy, that's another little bit. I'll just keep that to one side. Let's go for this strawberry. So then I can add that on like that. All of this, you might think, well, it's not going to fit. Well, no, but we can trim it, you see. And if we trim it straight along here, we'll have another set of straight edges. Do you see? So let's do that. Let's do that, because we've got a plan there, haven't we, almost? So I'll just kind of shift that along a bit and shift that along a bit. So it's a case now of building up, building up, building up. So I do apologise for going across the screen like that. So let's bring you in. Let's bring you in. Get my phone out the way. Got my mat there. I've got a bigger mat now, guys. I've got a bigger mat. I cut one of my really big mats up. I won't use, oh, well, I will use that. I'll put it on the top of my machine. Right, is that good enough for you? I think it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch these right sides together. So we'll do what we had all this laid down, didn't we? And then we'll just see what we've got. So I'm going to say a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but really it doesn't matter. You could go for 1/8 of an inch if you want. And then you're just going across the whole thing. Let me just get my little stiletto. Yeah, you're just going across the whole thing, and it doesn't matter if you've got 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now we've stitched those bits together. We might as well stitch these bits together. Ooh. You might want to pin them perhaps. And we're just going to go across the whole bit, and you'll be surprised how quick these pieces, this crumb quilting comes together. And it's not a bad thing to actually do this. And if you follow Jenny Doan, she's often said that she crumb quilts every day just to get her eye in, if you like, with her machining. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So let's move you over, bring these in. Okay, so now we can get your scissors if you want to, but we're just going to separate those bits, okay? And we do want to iron these, guys. Now, that's the only other thing I would say to you, is that it's really, really beneficial to iron. I need my little wool mat. I don't like, even with that silicone, you can just about see, I like to protect my big mats as best I can. So, right. Yes, yes, I just forgot what I was talking about now. So, oh yeah, pressing. You must press, okay? You must press. This is really important. So do what you normally do. You can set the seam if you want to and flip that back, okay? So if we look at these bits here, let me get my bigger scissors, otherwise we'll be here all day. I'm just literally going to snip these in. I'm not bothering. All I'm doing is separating all my little layers. Okay, so we'll trim these up in a sec, so I'll just put them to one side. And quite honestly, it's a really nice thing to do, because first of all, you're using scraps, or if you've got certain fabrics, even if they're big pieces, just run your rotary cutter through them to create scraps. Yeah. Let me show you what I mean by that, because it's good to learn. So we've got these bits here, and I'm going to trim them. So let's just put those to one side. So for instance, obviously these aren't little scraps. These aren't big scraps, but let's just pretend that they are. Okay. So you've got some bigger scraps going on. I would say layer them up, 3 or 4 layers. Get your rotary cutter and just cut through them like that. You might want to cut through them a few more times, but that then creates smaller pieces, and that's not cheating, that's making it work for you. Okay, so you can do that, and I've often done that when in fact I did it with these bits, because I never really keep really small pieces. I should have to put those in the bin now. So we've got our pieces that were just created, and I'll just get a little bit of a bigger ruler. So I'm going to straighten this one up here. So now I want to create some straight edges. Okay, now like I said before, you could, if you wanted to, build up more as you go along. In other words, you can create a little piece like that, and then you can add one piece to it, and then you could add another piece to it. So you could build up your crumb quilting like that if you want to, and I do that, but I quite like this way as well. So there's 2 bits done. So let's trim this one back. So we're not really wasting anything. You're not going to use that for anything unless you keep bits for stuffing, and some people do. I can't. I just don't have the space all the time. So just create these lovely, lovely straight edges. And that's the basis. If you can hear any tippy-tappy, that's Millie the dog. So now we've got some pieces with lovely straight edges. So now we can start building these up, okay? So we know that's a straight edge, obviously. And try not, although I with my sample I did, try not to get the same fabrics together. So you're wanting to sort of stagger them. So let's just move that around like that. That's lovely. We can't add one on there because then I'll have to sort of chop that off, which would be a shame. So if you wanted to, you can see that's going to work. So we could pick up one of our pieces, say, and we could add on to that bit to make it work. So let me just do that. I won't bother moving the machine. So just bear with while I just lean across and just stitch that. Bear with. So apologies for that, but it just wasn't worth me bringing the machine in. So again, let's just give that a little iron. If you iron this, it'll lay better. Trust me, it does. So look at that, that's much better. It's a nice longer piece. So I'm going to lay that on top of that. It's not that straight. We might want to straighten that up a little bit. Bear with. So this could take you ages if you're the sort of person that can't do random, okay? And I know there's some of you out there that can't do random. So this could cause you great difficulty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and do it so, I mean, you're not going to be able to see a thing. I'm just going to move my iron. I'm going to move my scissors. I'm going to bring my machine in a little bit. I mean, it's hardly worth you seeing it, but I'm going to stitch along here, okay? That way otherwise with crumb quilting, you're just backwards and forwards with the machine all the time. So it's good that I can just do it like this, to be perfectly honest. I know you can't see a darn thing, but now you can. So I've stitched down here, and now we can open that up. And we've got a piece, okay, which is lovely because we've got all different colours going on there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So now I want to add on, I just love this purple, so let's bring that in a bit. So let's put the purple along here. So we need a straight edge again. So let's just give this an iron, because this will all help with your straight edges if you give it an iron. And you push those seams out and make it super neat. The times I see things that have not seen an iron, and ironing is your absolute best friend. It really is. I can't stress enough. So let's do a straight edge. It doesn't have to be a super duper straight edge. I can take it off on an angle, look. Okay. And then I can add another piece. So I've got spots there, you see, so I can't add that to that, but I've got my gorgeous purple. I've also got the bits that I created earlier, so I've got that. Oh, look at that, almost matches. we could use that, but that seam is the same. I'm a bit pedantic when it comes to things like this, but that's better. So if I straighten that off, and you'll think, oh my goodness, this seems like a lot of work. Well, maybe, but you know what? It's absolutely so much fun. So that's our 2 pieces joined together there. Okay, so we need something going on here, but I think we need to add those 2 together first, and then I've got another piece sort of here that I can do across like that. So let's stitch this bit together. So right sides together. I hope I'm not going too super fast for you, but we want to actually make Robbie and not just create fabric. So I'm just stitching a straight line, guys, and obviously you'll see when I put the wallet together, obviously. But this with crumb quilting, there's a huge amount of stitching involved, backwards and forwards. So open that, press that seam, get it really super flat. Makes such a difference to your finished piece of work. Look at that, it's gorgeous. You might not think it is, but I think it is. So, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go straight across at an angle like that. So I'm just going to trim that. I don't care that I'm losing stuff, but I need a straight edge. So there we are, got a lovely straight edge. So now I can add on one of the pieces that I created earlier. Oh, that's just delicious, isn't it? Just too delicious for words. So I'm now going to put that right sides together. So you kind of get the gist now, don't you, of how we're creating the fabric. So I'll carry on until I've got a big enough piece. And I've already cut my lining. And because I've cut my lining, I know exactly the size I want to create. So there we are. What's this? Iona says, a sewist once said to me, "Sew as you go is our motto," and I always remember that. Yes, indeed. So there we are. So isn't that looking gorgeous? That didn't take us long at all. Now this is the piece size I want to create. So we're not far off. Look, not far off. So we can add a bit on here, perhaps add a bit on the side. So let's have a look at the pieces that we've got. So I've got that piece and I've got this piece. So I'm going to join that piece onto there. So let's do that. I deliberately didn't pre-stitch this because sometimes you do need to see. So there's a lovely straight edge that I've created. So now, do you see this bit here? Now the only problem with that is that we're going to have two lines going across. So I might trim this bit here and trim across there and put it along that edge instead of the other one, because we've got a cross line going here. If I was to put it along there, I'd have two seams parallel. Do you see? So I'm not being pedantic, but we need to have some sort of order. So I'm going to cut straight across. There we go. And none of this is wasted, because as you saw earlier, you know, we can save those bits and use them for something else. So there's that bit. There's the bit I just created. So, oh, it's got spots there, but that's okay, because by the time we've, and strawberries, never mind, by the time we've stitched it and quilted it and all the rest, you won't notice. And you can always add bits to it. You could do a patch on it. Which reminds me, I've got to patch one of my quilts. It's literally falling apart. Jeanette says, you could have scraps joined and after each project spend a little time adding more scraps. Yes! Hello, Jeanette. You are totally on my wavelength, because that's exactly what you could do. Exactly what you can do. Or you could start at the beginning of your sewing day, let's say, and you could you know, keep those scraps up that you had yesterday and start sewing. Make sure that seam isn't twisted, and start sewing your scraps before you do any other sewing. And that way you've kind of you know, you've got your oh, where's the it's the Amazon man. He's got me a nice little parcel. So we don't mind the Amazon man because he brings us nice parcels. Okay, so let's just have a look at our piece. Let's see if we can get it on there yet. Just need a little bit there. Sorry, let me just bring that in. We're not far off there, but I think we could add some bits there, and then we're done. So let's have a look. I've got this bit here. Okay, so we need to make that a straight edge. I hope this doesn't run over. We're only at 25 past, not too bad. So let's trim that off. And we're going to use this bit. And what else? We can add some bits on. I've got to get that purple in there again, haven't I? Look at that, I've got quite a big piece there. So what I want to end up with is that down there and that there. So if I fold that right sides together and stitch that. Oh, is it a parcel for me, John? Oh, hold on. 1, 2, 3. 3 parcels for me. Thank you very much. I win. Okay, so I think I meant to go the other way. Never mind. Let's do it like that, and then I'll trim that, and then we just need to put a piece along there. So let's just, it's a bit cack-handed, as they say, but let's just do that. There we go. That's smashing. So I just need to add a little bit on there. So I'm going to add a piece across there. So let's find a piece. Actually, that would be big enough. Oh, sorry. That would be big enough. There we go. So I just trimmed that straight. Do you see? So I just want to add that bit onto there, and then that piece of fabric will be big enough. So let me stitch that onto there, and then we should be good to go. Ooh. There we go. That's it. Come on, machine. So yeah, you can colour coordinate your fabrics. You can you know, get all your blues together. You can get all your greens together. You can really have a super time collecting your scraps. Now, obviously, your big scraps will probably go in one place, and your little really scrappy pieces will go in another. But what fun! So let's just straighten this up, and then I think we are done. We should have enough. Let's have a look. Let's put it down there. Look at that. Woo! Let's just move that down a bit, because I had that seam. You see, this is where you could really get a bit too fussy, and I don't want you to get fussy. I just want you to just enjoy it. So we'll just seam that together, and then we're done. I think we are done. Let's just pop it down and hope that we got that lined up okay. So let's bring in the machine. There we go. Yeah, Mr. Amazon Man. We do like a bit of a parcel, don't we? In fact, I don't know, I live in like a cul-de-sac, and if the Amazon man goes past my window and doesn't stop, I'm mortified. It's like, what? How dare you? It's like, do you not realise I'm in need of fabric? Or whatever I might have bought. Could be scissors, could be stabiliser. What could it be? Pencils, pens, books. Oh, books. Yes, we like a book. What else? Oh, it could be. Ah, yes, could be some hardware. I ordered some bag hardware in a real bronzy colour because John is after a messenger bag. So I've got to make a messenger bag for him. Okay, so it could do with a better press, but for the time being that will do. I'll put some best press on it shortly. So now we need to cut it out, which is fab, because we're doing really well. So let's just pop our lining on there. Now all the measurements are in the pattern, so by putting the lining on there, I know exactly that's the size I want to cut. Could do with a longer ruler, really. Let's get me big one. And it's although you see I'm cutting all that away, but you know what? We can always recycle it again. I'm going to cut that blinking purple, aren't I? Oh, there's quite a bit there. Okay, oh, fair enough. Oops. There we go. I'm throwing it towards my machine. You know, I've got to move it again in a minute because it's in the way now. So let's cut this one down. So is everybody up for the 4 days of Easter? Because we had, oh gosh, 43, 44 finished quilts so far for the 12 days of Christmas. Can you believe that? And just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So proud of you. I can't even begin to tell you. It's just, well, I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that. So this is our lining. Bit of African wax fabric. This is our fabric for our wallet. Okay, so it's whatever it is. It's whatever it is, guys. So now what we need to do is to attach our, whoops, nearly lost something very precious in the bin. We need to add our wadding. So this is 640. I did use some other wadding making my sample, which was quite thick, and I kind of regretted it. If you do use a thicker wadding, and I say this in the pattern, I strongly recommend that you cut it back 3/8 of an inch. So don't cut it back to 1/4 inch like you perhaps think you would. Cut it back to 3/8 of an inch. If you've used a decent adhesive spray, then it'll be perfectly fine. But you just don't want all that bulk when you're putting the binding on, okay? So, yeah, that's all I want to say about that, really. But it does make a difference if you've got, if you think about how many layers you've got, and also because we're not looking exactly where all the seams are, but it could be in one of the corners. You've got a right mishmash of seams. Look at that. That's look. You might have ended up with that right in the corner where your binding goes. Think how many layers of fabric are sitting just there. So by cutting it back 3/8 of an inch, it really gives you a fighting chance. Yeah, it's always worth it. So let's just set that 640. 640 is just a polyester adhesive wadding. It's adhesive on one side. You absolutely don't iron this side because it's polyester. Wadding, natural wadding, 80-20, that sort of thing you can, but not with 640. So just making sure that that is well glued. Look at that. That's a bit of vintage Liberty, that is. I think, no, I don't know if that's Liberty. I'm not sure. I don't think it is. But that is. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. Right, so that should do. That should do. The thing to do is try to pick it away, and if it doesn't want to pick away, you know you got it. Okay, so now we need to round off the corners. I'll switch my iron off now, and you want a fairly decent curve, really. You don't want a sharp curve. So let's just get my pen. So on just one, so you've got, it is a rectangle. Okay, this is the shorter width. This is the longer bit. The longer bit is the length of the purse. So on the shorter corners, you want to round those off. Okay. Now I've got a lovely lid here, which is just perfect. So I'm just going to mark that, and all I'm doing is putting the lid on the raw edges where it touches. Okay, so there's that. With the African wax fabric, we don't have a, well, I don't think we have a, yeah, see, that's the right side, I would have said. But let's just draw around that, draw around that. Okay. So now it's just a case of cutting it out. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure it's fairly equal, folding my fabric together and just cutting round. Okay, so I'll cut both bits at the same time, so at least this bit is right. I'm going to try and do the same with this one. So just make sure your corners are sitting on top of each other and give it a cut. And I would probably, when I come to stitch this, I will probably take more notice of my lining than I will this, because we've got the layers. It might not be exactly the same. So let's hope that it is. I'm just doing this for speed. You might want to do them individually. Right, so the next thing is just give this a little bit of quilting. Not much. So maybe we want to quilt this square here, and maybe this one here, and maybe that's all we want to do. Maybe we'll do this bit. So it's just a little bit of random quilting, and all that means is that you're going to just be stitching the layers together. If you've used a fusible fleece like me, then it doesn't really matter. This is, I suppose, more about decoration than anything else. You can put your stitch length up to 3, because really it's just like a top stitch. I'm doing about 1/4 inch, but I'm not measuring anything, I'm just doing it by eye. Just this is, you know, this is the fun bit, yeah? This is the bit where you can just, a couple of back stitches just to secure that. Just have a little bit of fun. I mean, you could go absolutely crazy and do a massive bit of quilting, but that's not what it wasn't intended to be like that. Right, let's do one more stitch. It's always one more stitch. I was listening to Kath last week and she said exactly the same. One more stitch. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, one stitch is so tiny, but yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? So I'm just not bothering. This is not quilting that's going to go into the Festival of Quilts. It's just for us. I think I'll do this big part here. I think that would be fun. So let's turn it so I've got it right for me. And then that's it. That's it. Now, if you've used a wadding that isn't adhesive, I would suggest that that you do perhaps secure some of these pieces down. So although if we look at the back, you can see what I've quilted, hardly anything, but that's fine because it's given us a little bit of interest there, there and there. But you could machine around here. We're going to do it anyway before we do the binding, just to keep it you know, keep it together, but you could machine it so it stays put. Now, while you're there, let's do the binding for the pocket. So you should have a piece of vinyl. Now, I always use proper bag vinyl, okay? I think it's by Annie. I was going to have a quick look. I'll if I remember, I'll reach over and get it. I do believe it's on my Amazon store. I do believe. But that's your pocket, but we want to put some bias on it. So cut your piece of bias that goes across the purse. Now, I have told you exactly how much, but you know what? I always cut bigger. I was listening to a sewing show, was it today? Is it important to use a wax fabric for the inside, Michaela? Well, unless... wax fabric. Well, unless you... Oh, I see, because I've used African wax. Oh, gosh, no. And I was going to say, unless you're putting something damp in there. So if you're going to store, like, wet wipes or something, although they'd probably dry out, then, yes, you're going to... If it's something damp, then yes. But I've only used African wax fabric because, A, I've got a load, and B, I love it. And I love it that it's zingy and bright and super. Spotty bias, Emma, yes. And I actually wanted a bit brighter, but I couldn't find my other bias. Now look, you could pop this you could get your bias. This is pre-bought bias. You could use your machine, and you could iron this, not on the vinyl, iron this over so you've got a beautiful, beautiful fold along here. Okay, but I'm just going to go for it. But please do what's comfortable for you. If you want to use some quilter's tape, please use some quilter's tape. You might find that when we put this on the machine, this will stick to the bed of the machine, possibly. Now, there's a couple of things you can do. You could have a piece of tissue paper here, and you could run it across the tissue paper. You could get some talcum powder and rub some talcum powder in the bed of your machine, and again that will stop it sticking, but you'll need to polish it up afterwards. You could, if you feel necessary, you could put your Teflon foot on, but you really do not need it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my bias tape over like that. Lovely seeing invisible stuff, isn't it? So I'm folding my bias tape over the edge like that, yeah, like a mountain fold, and I'm putting my vinyl right up to the middle. I'll see if I can flash it. I'm sure you can see it. There we go. So it's on the right to the middle. Okay, and I'm just going to fold that over. And if you want to, machine right down the centre if you're a bit wary about whether you're going to catch both sides. But the joy of vinyl is sticking is that you can see right through it, which sounds ridiculous, but it means you can see the back of your bias and the front at the same time, which makes life so much easier. So just go all the way across. You don't need a special needle. Take your time if you need to. There's no rush. We're not in the Olympic Games. Nobody's going to get a gold medal. Oh, and if you want, I'll give you a gold medal. So there's our bias attached. Hopefully you can see. Tricky, it's tricky. And then we can just trim that off. Okay, can just trim it off. Okay, there we go. And that's made it lovely, super duper neat. And should, you know, if you did well, it's not bad. Back and front should be almost identical. Okay, so the next job is to put the pocket into the seam. Now I always do it like it's going to be. So in other words, let's have a quick look. So this is the right side of my lining. So I've got right side of my lining facing up, and I'm going to put my pocket, and in fact let's get some clips. Don't worry about vinyl. It's really just like stitching fabric, really. Except things like you can't obviously put pins through it. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So what you're doing is you're lining your pocket up. You know what, I can't show you, but you're lining your bottom pocket up with the bottom of your fabric. This is the top because we've rounded it off, and then you're going to make a sandwich. Now what you could do to make sure everything is laying where you want it to be is that you do one layer at a time. Okay, there's no prizes for being super quick and then everything is wriggled. Okay, so there we go. So that is now super. So we're going to stitch along here, guys. We're not going to do anything here. Well, we can stitch this in a second so it stays put, but this is where we're going to stitch. In fact, we should stitch that first, but I'll tell you what, let's just stitch that. And what did I do in the pattern? I don't think I can see the pattern now. I think my computer is switched off. Oh, hold on, it's there. Oh, yes, stitch that. So let's go by the pattern. We're going to stitch across there, across there, okay? Because that's what the pattern says. And if she said do it, then that's what we do. Because she's the boss. That's me. Right, so, oh, Helena. You're there, you're here, super. Helena has come from Canada to see her friends. She's looking after them, they're a bit poorly. And she's a bit jet lagged. Oh, bless you. 3 days and still jet lagged. Oh my gosh. Well, you got to tell me when you're up for a cup of tea and then we can meet up. It says Helen, but she's actually Helena. There we go. So I've stitched down both sides so you can see that vinyl now, can't you? Because it's shiny. So then that's just to secure it in place. Okay, nothing technical about that. So now while you're there, because I might as well keep you there, we're going to now attach our outer piece, our lovely beautiful piece of quilting. So all we're going to do, we're going to stitch along that short straight end. So the end with the curves, ignore, we're going to stitch that short end. So let me just put my clips in and then I'll show you. Okay. Okay, so there we go. So there's my outer, there's my lining, and I've put the two short ends together and we're going to stitch right across there. Okay, so I'll take my clips out because they just annoy me and pop it under your machine. Now of course it'll all, because the vinyl is inside, it won't be sticky, and it is only sticky, so you mustn't worry about it. It's not going to damage your machine. It just feels funny if it sticks to the bed of your machine here. Okay. Lovely. Oh, hello, Adrienne. Oh, better behave. It's my daughter. Have you seen her new guinea pig panels? Oh my gosh, they're adorable. So we joined our two pieces together. Okay, now let's just quickly go on the overhead because you need to see this next bit. Okay, so you see how it wants to, I want you to see this. You see how it wants to do this because you've obviously got the vinyl there, and that is the seam allowance of the vinyl. Okay, but you've got to tell it who's boss, and you've got to fold that down. Now obviously you cannot press it. You can press it from the back a little bit later, or you can do it now if you want to. And be careful with your clips because your clips could damage the vinyl as well. I mean, it should be fine. But you could now take that to the iron. I've got a massive big press which is useful. And you could then press that down. The other thing you can do is to put your clips in at strategic places and hold that in place. And look at that, it's sitting absolutely beautifully. If I show you the front and the back, it's sitting lovely. So we perhaps could take those out because I'm always worried about damaging vinyl. It should be fine, but you know, just in case. So that is our wallet made apart from the binding. Now, when I did the binding before, let's just cut a length off. Let me just quickly do a quick measure. I'll cut more than I need. You need to start stitching from the right side. If you're going to do it the way the pattern is, you're going to do this on the right side because you want it to be super neat. And if you're going to stitch both of these at the same time, which is possible, so you do exactly what you did with the pocket, then I would strongly suggest you stitch from this side and not the lining. The lining isn't important. Adrienne says, very kind of you to make this for me, Mum. What a cheek. But this time we're going to do something a little bit different because obviously it's not an easy thing to do. I'm okay with it, but it isn't an easy thing to do. So what we're going to do, oh, hold on. Let's just snip that. Oh, hold on. I can't have that sticking out like that. That's it. What we're going to do this time, guys, is that we're going to stitch from the wrong side, in other words the inside, and we're going to stitch our binding straight over. Okay, so I'm going to start stitching it over the top like that. I'm going to leave that little end out, we can deal with that later, and I'm going to, first of all, do you see the top stitching line? Well, I'm coming in just a wee bit from that. And I'm just going to top stitch this directly onto my purse, okay? And I'm doing this on the wrong side because when we flip it over, again, we want the outer to be absolutely perfect, Okay, so there's always a reason for my madness, pretty much. And if you want to, you could use quilter's tape, obviously. Let me get rid of that mouse, it's always in my way. You could use quilter's tape to hold everything in place, okay? So you mustn't worry, you must not worry. So we got our clips in, and obviously you can put more clips in. You don't have to just do what I've done. You can put a couple of dozen in there if you want to. You could also, and this is what I meant to say, at this point you could actually join all the layers together and just do like a basting all the way around. Now that is quite a good idea to do that, because then you're just dealing with one piece of fabric rather than juggling all the layers. So all I'm going to do is lay this over the top, leave yourself a bit of an end, you can see the end, and you're going to start stitching. So let's just pop that down, and if you wanted to, get your quilter's tape on this and glue it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with glue, nothing wrong at all. So let's just get this binding on. When you come to the corners here, it's bias, it's stretchy, so it will go round. You'll need to tell it to go round. In other words, you're going to do a few little stitches, you're going to stretch it a little bit, you're going to move it around, okay? But until you get to that corner, you're just doing a straight bit. Oops, a little bit wriggly there. So as you come around, you get to that sort of 1/4 inch point, and then you're just going to move it around, a little bit at a time. No point rushing. Can you see what I'm doing? And then just tell it who's boss. You try to keep to your 1/4 inch. If you go off, don't matter. This is the inside, don't forget that. It's the inside, only you are going to see it. I don't suppose anybody will want to see your receipts. And if they do, chop their hands off. So all the way along to the second corner, you can see it's already turning, look there, which is great. So it's kind of aim for a 1/4 inch, right? So you're kind of going on the straight until you get to the 1/4 inch. I mean, personally, I think putting the two on together is easier, but I figured show you a different way. Take your time. You know, I've been stitching, how many? 62 years. And I still don't rush, I still take my time. I don't get a prize for going quickly, and neither will you. So, again, straighten up. Yes, those guinea pigs of Adrian's are super. Oh, and don't forget to order your Buy Your Children in Need bag, please, guys. Thank you very much. Our takings are down from last year. Right, so it's stitched onto the front. It all immediately wants to go over to the back. It's not bad, even though I say so myself. So now what we've got to do is obviously the hard bit, which is actually then putting it over the other side. So we've got to trim this off a little bit. I'm going to say 1/2 inch. You might want to do bigger. You might want to do smaller. Let me just trim these bits and bobs. So there's our ends. Can you see how that looks? All right. And then what we're going to do is fold this over. You could use glue again. Fold it again, tuck it in, and bring it over. It's not easy to do this in midair. Bring it over, and then you're going to top stitch it again. Now, let me just try and do this so you can see what it looks like. And we're going to follow the stitching that we've just done. Okay, so you're going to fold it over. Difficult for me to show that end and hold it, but trust me, I'll be folding it in and stitching it at the same time. Now, you could, if you wanted to, hand stitch that little bit there, get a piece of quilter's tape in there and stick it down, and then you'll find folding it over is an absolute doddle. Okay, so it's very similar to the other one that I did, but I think you'll probably find it easier, but you decide. But I think at this stage quilter's tape would be your friend. I'm just going to fold it as best I can. Sorry if my hands are in the way, apologies. Let's just get that under the needle. It has shifted, I knew it would. Just bear with, guys. There we go. Because this is the bit you're going to see most of, the back, the outside, you want it to be really nice. As nice as you can get it anyway. So let's just wriggle that a bit. Because we've now got the vinyl underneath, so bear that in mind. You might want to get your tissue under there again, or a little bit of talcum powder again. I might as well. I just should have followed my own advice and put some quilter's tape on there. Let me just shift it. That's it. I think we've got it now. There we go. We're on. We're on a rocking and a rolling now, guys. So as we go along, we're going to use something pointy to get hold of your fabric, can you see? And you're just literally going to do your best to fold it to that stitch line, or over that stitch line. I mean, I doubt whether you will be able to get it over because you've got the seam, unless you cut the seam back. And you'll find that your outer binding will look sensational. So just come all the way down. Now this is where you're going to stretch your binding. So a few little stitches, and this will want to come right over. Look, this will want to come right over, but you've got to make sure that it doesn't. You want to try and keep to the same width of binding as you go around. And that's not particularly easy, but see how you get on. Just take your time. But quilter's tape, it is biased, so it should stretch around a corner, but quilter's tape will help you again. Or hand stitch. But I know a lot of you don't like hand stitching, so we do sometimes try to think, oh, let's just get it on the machine. So I'm just coming around that corner. I'm using my stiletto to keep that fabric on the curve. So you might think, investing in a stiletto or a pointy object is actually a very, very good investment. So all the way around. Now you're on the straight run, which is nice. Do as much as you can. We're just going over that pocket bias there. We've now got the vinyl on the bed of our machine, so it might want to stick a little bit. Bear that in mind. So again, you might want tissue under there, you might want talcum powder, anything to take that sticky away. Okay, so let's just pull that across. Because you've got the vinyl in the seam, you might want to cut that back. Right, so we've got that far. So now what we're going to do, we're going to fold that under, tuck that in as best you can, because it won't want to. And then bring that over and try to do a fairly decent end. It's not easy, and you'll want 6 pairs of hands for it. Let me just tuck that in. That's it. Bring that across. That's not bad. I could have done better, but there we go. So a little back stitch just to hold, and cut your threads. There we go. So just snip that little thread there. And I'll just trim those bits back. So if you have a look now, I'll keep you on the side camera for a minute. So that's our outer, and it just looks amazing, doesn't it? Really neat and tidy. When we look at the inside, you'll see that you've got 2 rows of stitching, which is absolutely fine, because this is what you're going to see. That's what you're going to see, guys. You're not going to see the lining, you're not going to see the binding, just maybe that little bit there. But the most important thing is that this row of stitching, and it is beautiful. Okay, that's the main thing. We're not bothered about so much seeing this, but it still looks lovely. You could put some ribbon along there or some lace. But now we've got to make do the popper. Okay, so we're just on 8 o'clock, so this won't take more than 2 minutes to do the popper. and then we're done. All right, so you know what I do. We've got our poppers, we've got our tools, we've got all the things that we need. All this is on my on my Amazon page if you want it. So we just got to choose a colour. I still think that mauve, don't you? I'm going to go with the mauve again because it's just so delicious. So we need 2 buttons, an innie and an outie. Don't even bother telling me what they're properly called. I'm not interested. So an innie and an outie. Right, so let's do this one first. So we'll do the front first. Now you really need to get this in the centre, guys. Let's get my pen. Let's just do a mark so we know that's the centre. Okay, quick enough. And actually that's not a bad place. Let me have a look at the other one. Yeah, it's not a bad place. We'll just go below it. We'll go about there. Okay, so just get your tool. Now this is an old one from work when I used to work for Crafter's Companion, but I have got one on my website, on the Amazon page, that's identical. If that's out of stock, look for a screw punch tool. Okay, I get asked this so many times. It's a screw punch tool. This is just a piece of silicone that protects my mat. Okay, I don't want holes in my mat. So button on the front. And we're going to put the outie, sticky outie, on the top. And if you push it in with your thumbnails, it will stay there. So there's no bother about it falling out. Just get it in your tool. Make sure it's sitting in the dish. Now I need to stand up for this, guys, as I am certainly not as strong as I used to be. Okay, so that's it. There we go. You just want to make sure that that centre pin is flattened. Now look, if you can't do that, find a friend because it isn't difficult. You see, I do 2 hands, I put my whole strength behind it. You just need to do the same. Now to get that in the right position, you want to fold your purse over. You can have it further down, you can have it further up, but I just like it so it sits like that. And give that a push, and that will mark. It won't make a hole, but it will mark where your popper's going to go, okay, which is there. Oh, you're not going to see that because of the, oh yeah, you can just about see it now. But if you push that over, don't push too hard, but push down, it makes a little ring, and you know that's where your popper's going to go. Use some protection, right? Make a hole, be careful. So do you see now? Look at that. Because it's vinyl, can you see that? There's the little bit that I took out. So you want to be careful you don't go through your lining because you're only going through vinyl. Yeah, so be careful with that. So the button goes underneath, goes inside, and the outie, the innie rather, goes on the top. And again, that should catch. I shouldn't need to worry about it falling out. You've got to be able to manipulate that now into place, and you need it sitting in the silver dish. Okay, it needs to be sat in that silver dish. Once again, stand up, 2 hands, push down, and not bad, it could be better. If you don't do it first time, then do it again, and that's what it looks like. You'll be able to see the button at the back. Look, can you see? I don't know if you can see that. And there we are. That's it done. That's it finished. All done. Looks nice, doesn't it? And I love the fact that we've got that bit of pink going on. A little bit of quilting just popping out there. A little bit of interest. And there we are. All done. Did we like it? Yes, we did. Seems to me I have to give this to Adrian. Well, I suppose it depends who comes first. I didn't see anything from Abigail, but then I wasn't looking because they fight. Right, so there we are. So there is crumb quilting. So although I know you couldn't see some bits, but there really wasn't any point, because back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You can tell, can't you? Because it's all little bits all the time. So just keep building those up. Keep straightening the edges. Just look back over the video to see how I did it. You can build up the biggest piece, and I think Jeanette's idea of every day, at the beginning of when you've been sewing, well, I say every day because obviously I stitch every day, but every time you stitch, save those little bits and add it to your piece of fabric, and you could end up with a really nice big piece that you could make into a lap quilt. And then do you know, it's all about then memories, isn't it? Because if there's fabrics on here that you've used for certain projects, maybe the this one here, this Liberty, that piece of fabric there always reminds me of Kim Porter, Worn and Wash, because that's where I got it from. So it's lovely to remember friends and family and put your receipts in. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I will upload this to YouTube. Silly me. Now, so if you are a member of my sewing group, I shall see you Thursday, and we're working with faux leather, all of the ins and outs of working with faux leather. We've got, don't forget, Children in Need. Can you see little bunny there? Look, Children in Need. Don't forget to order yours. Please download it. I don't care if you don't make it. I just want your money, as I always say. What else? Oh yes, I'm going to be doing a special live on Saturday on this page, and a special live on Friday on my group Facebook page. So watch out for the details of that. And next week it's Kath, and she's already made the project. The pattern has already been written and it's fabulous. You're going to absolutely love it. So there we are, I'll leave you with that. Right, that's me done. I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening, and I'll see you all again very soon. Good night, everybody. Oh, and Jeanette says, I did ask about a faux leather. That's why I'm doing it, Jeanette, because you asked. I'm sure it'll be of interest to other people. Right, I will see you all again soon. Bye-bye.